Hi everyone. Today I have a video on how to replace the HDMI port on a PS4. I was never planning on doing such video because for me and for most of the people in the community it's not regarded as a very hard job. However, I got a PS4 a few weeks ago. I think it was just before Christmas, and I'll put the pictures in the video so you'll see them in the next couple of seconds. But I want to show you how easy it is for somebody that has the knowledge and the tools and the patience. It's not a hard job by any means, and it shouldn't be considered a hard job. It's something that shouldn't take more than, let's say, half an hour, including stripping apart and putting it back together. And it's something that's done with the minimum tool requirement. You don't need extremely specialized equipment or extremely fancy hot air guns or whatever. So I'm going to show you how I do it under the microscope. Probably you won't see a lot because my camera is not tall enough, like the viewing angle is not tall enough, but I hope you'll see as much as possible and you'll get the idea on how to do it. This repair, I start off by applying low melt or soldering paste in the back where we have the pins, as you can see here, and also on the anchoring points. So in this case, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pins are pushed back. So what I like to do is I push them in their own place so that I can see what's behind there, like so. And now I have a clear view on the back of the HDMI port. Okay, now we can start applying the solder paste. Depending on the urgency of the repair, I might not use the solder paste. However, it's easier and it's risk-free in terms of pulling pads if you don't have any pulled pads already, because sometimes when the HDMI port gets broken they tend to pull pads with them, so you have to run jumpers like you've seen in the pictures from the guy that tried to do it before me. Yeah, it is quite difficult to try and film this so you can see what I'm doing as well. Something like this, it doesn't have to be perfect or anything, it's just to have an extra solder paste there. So from here on out it's quite easy, quite simple. I'm gonna put my hot air station at 450 degrees and I'm gonna use 140 airflow, and I'm gonna change my nozzle to go with the big one. This one here. After this, it's pretty simple. You just heat it up from underneath and you wait for it to move. Give it a slight wiggle up and down. and you sort of move from left to right to make sure everything has the same melting temperature. If one side is melted and the other side isn't, you're going to pull pads when you're lifting the port itself. And that's about it. The port is gone. It's out. That's how easy it is. You don't need to pull everything out when you're removing a port, a HDMI port particularly. I'm going to move the camera a little bit out of the way, the microscope camera, because I want to clear the holes. Like so, and this is what you should be left with. Okay, so we have moved the diode a little bit. I'm going to put it back. Like so. And that's usually because we hit the, or you touch it sometimes with the tip of the suction thing, because it's quite big. Okay, so from here on out it's pretty straightforward basically. So we need to re-tin all these pads to make them nice and bumpy. I'm not using the solder paste anymore, I'm just using the Kester solder. Like so. I'm going to clean the surface a little bit. So you end up with a nice clean board that you can easily fit the new HDMI port. Now I'm going to put the board aside for a second. Let me grab the HDMIs. So brand new port. Okay, no damage inside whatsoever. If you want to make your life easier, pre-tin the all the legs on the HDMI port itself. Like so. Okay. So now you cold fit the HDMI port to make sure it actually fits and it's on the correct position, which it is, like so. And what I always like to do next is I like to pre-fill these anchoring holes with solder. Preload or whatever you want to call it. And then I go from underneath and I heat it up and you'll see what happens. Okay, so I need more in this little hole here. So this is kind of what you want to be left with before you put the new HDMI port in place. And for that it should be pretty easy. I just use a tweezer to hold the new port, and the same procedure applies. You just heat up the underneath, the bottom of the board, and then you hold your HDMI port in place. This should be it. We're going to wait for it a little bit to cool down, and then we're going to look from the side, make sure everything is properly soldered. We can clean the board a little bit in the meantime. And this is about it. All of them are connected. Now, if you're OCD, like I tend to be sometimes, I go and I do the pads once more manually, not with the hot air, just to make sure that I don't have the same solder as Sony does. So when the customer plugs in the HDMI a couple of times, it just breaks off the board. Probably hard for you guys to see, but like I said, I don't have a lens that allows me to shoot from outer space. And I just hold the soldering iron in between the pad and the leg of the port, and then it goes all shiny, and then I know it's actually soldered and they made contact. Now, sometimes you may be getting, let's say, inferior HDMI ports, no matter how much money you want to spend. Suppliers are suppliers, like we all know. So, in case all the legs are not aligned, or they're not aligned, but they're not sitting properly, you can always use the scraper and just push the leg down, like so. And then solder it in place. And that's about it. Now we're 100% that they're all in place, they're all soldered, they're all making contact. This is literally the whole process of replacing a HDMI chip, a HDMI port, I should say. I don't see why people are butchering this sort of repair. The problem for the customer is that instead of me taking about half an hour to do a job like this, or less depending on the work volume, and getting charged a certain amount, they get charged way more because I have to stay and run all these jumpers and put parts back that are missing and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for watching. Like if you like this video, dislike if you didn't like the video. I'm not going to show it to you working. That's not really the main purpose of this video. It's just to show you how easy and quick it is to replace a HDMI port on a PS4. I've been Michael from iTechRepairs, and I see you next time. Bye bye.